Howdy y'all, I'm Ice Gold, and today I'm going to be covering a topic that has been talked about quite a bit over the last few days since Wallaru's release, and that is going to be the solo IRK fights that you see here in the world of Wallaru. There are a good few of these, and each of them has their own, cheat mechanics, that type of deal, but in this video, I'm just going to show y'all how I beat all of them and how you can do the same. Because these fights, they are solo only, so there's no team up. You can't really get a teammate for them and just do them like that. It's all in the solos. So let's go ahead and start with the first boss, which is Rage. So I forgot to record on my Storm, but I did catch this on stream on my Ice back on Monday, so you saw the deck at the beginning real quick. But the idea is, his cheats are that you can't bubble, because he'll replace it with Combustion, which is the fire, pierce, and crit bubble. At the beginning of the second round, and every round afterward, it will cast Scald, so that's a lot of damage on you. And whenever a blade, trap, or aura is cast, it will cast a plus 20 to 45% version of Fire Blade, or a 5 to 15 version of Fire Spear. And spells that leave traps, like, S'more, FFA, that type of deal, will trigger it. So the main thing with him is that he doesn't really hinder your gameplay all that much. You just kind of have to kill him fast. He only has about 14.3k health, but I think, as long as you kill him quick enough, you'll be fine. This is one of the easier fights. It can be kind of tough to stay alive, and he can use Wildfire Treant, which will steal your charms. So my honest advice here is to just hope he doesn't use that, and you'll be able to do just fine. He'll do a lot of damage to you, but you can certainly take him down before he takes you down. So second up, and this is arguably the most infamous one so far, is the Ice Desperation IRK boss. And this one's a bit tough. Basically, what you've got to do is, I would recommend setting up a Scion as best as you can. It depends on school for how easy that is to set up. Like for my Ice, it wasn't going to happen, but Shatterhorn worked anyway. So using a feint will cause Desperation to cast a 5,000 damage absorb version of Frozen Armor on itself. Now, if you're using a Scion, you don't care about a 5,000 damage absorb. I would genuinely recommend stacking feints and then just hitting right through it. That, in my opinion, is going to be the best way to do it. I would recommend striking into a hit, preferably a Scion if you can meet the condition. If your Scion is hard to set up or your condition gets taken away, I would recommend just using the base Scion. Just because, it still does a lot of damage, and it will still do plenty, especially if you have 2 or more feints on the boss. He can be quite annoying with shields and all that, so I would recommend also packing pierces or shatters, that type of thing. That is how you beat Desperation. You basically just trap stack, because, and I should have mentioned this earlier, but he will disarm you if you blade. So technically speaking, you could get away with tri-blades as long as you're not fire or life, but I would still recommend just feint stacking and using a couple of your main school traps as well. And that should get you the victory against them. So there are some other cheats that I'm reading on this wiki page, but none of them are really relevant if you're just feint stacking and doing the usual strat. So that is how you beat Desperation. The third solo IRK fight that you encounter in Wallaru is with the Despair IRK as a death boss. And this one is really no fun. Pretty much what happens is you can't bubble, you can't aura, you'll get popped for like 1.3k. You can't blade because you'll get enfeebled. You can't shield because you'll get shattered, and it will permanently have a 45 blade up on itself. Damaging it will cause it to put a V-plague on itself. So, as you could probably tell by what you're seeing on screen right now that, yeah, as a storm at the very least, I just bolted over and over and over and over. So I think I would genuinely recommend just doing the same on like just quick hits, quick low pip hits to finish him off, because it's so bad. You basically can't do anything. You can trap, but it's just not going to get you too far. You could feint, but he'll swap it, so if you have indemnity, you know, that's the only one you can use. Yeah, it's particularly rough. I would recommend just spamming hits for this one, or just stacking regular traps. Like, you could do regular trap, potent, TC, the works, but it does have 16.8k health, so just something to keep in mind in case that's what you want to go for. And even then, fainting is probably not a good idea because he has both Dark Pact and Empower, so even if you do get your indemnity feint on, there's always the chance he'll just randomly take it off with a Pact or an Empower. So yeah, I don't think it's worth the risk. Best case, just spam him down. That's the best I can really recommend. Fourth on the list is the Paranoia boss. This is a storm boss with 12,330 health, and this, I would argue, is one of the easier fights. So, one thing to keep in mind, this boss does have a dispel cheat at the beginning of round 4 and every 2 rounds after. It will cast a dispel based on the highest number of school pips that you have at any given time. So what you do here is you go in and you set your deck's default Archmastery to something other than your main school, and myth for that matter. Set it to, like, I don't know, balance, if you're not a balance. And basically what'll happen is, by the time you get to round 4, you'll have a good few balance pips. So what Paranoia will do is it will put balanced dispels on you. So you can still freely hit with whatever your main school is. One thing to note about him is that if you cast a blade, the boss will cheat cast an 80% shield of that blade's school. So if I were to use a Storm Blade, for example, he would put up an 80% Storm Shield. And you can get around this by packing Pierces or Shatters and just piercing off the shields as you go, or getting a Myth Pip on the last round before you hit, and then shattering to avoid getting Myth dispelled. Because as you'll see, I switch my Archmastery to Fire at some point in here, but because I have 5 Death Pips and 2 Fire Pips, I keep getting Death dispelled. Even though my Archmastery is set to Fire and I'm gaining Fire Pips, I still get Death dispelled because I have more Death Pips. So that's just how it works. So just something to keep in mind. The usual strat for this guy is honestly just pretty simple. Just blade a few times, make sure he has no shields before you take the hit, and just send a big hit. I packed a Scion expecting him to, use his Shadow Blade, but he never did, so I just sent the base Scion, and it did plenty of damage. So this is one of the easier bosses out of the 5. Finally, we have Confusion. Now, this is a minion to Dream Freddy in Freddy's Dreamscape at the Eucalyptus Forest campfire. This fight is, I would say, just by far the easiest out of the 5, because basically there aren't any game-hindering cheats going on here. Your blades don't get chopped. They don't put up 5,000 absorbs for every trap or whatever. They don't swap your feints. They don't Dark Pact your feints off. It's honestly kind of a nice fight, even though it's the only double boss out of all of them. So basically the idea here is you blade up and you send your Shad AoE. That's kind of just what it boils down to. Confusion will actually hit Dream Freddy a good couple times before Freddy wrangles him and puts the Freddy's influence aura and redirects Confusion's attacks back towards you. So yeah, it's not a hard fight by any means. It is a double boss, and I got kind of unlucky myself with it. Freddy Leviathaned 2 of my blades off, but I was still able to frenzy and send my shad and kill them. So pretty straightforward and easy fight. Confusion himself has just shy of 15,000 health, so it won't be too bad. Bloodbat and Frost Beetle at the very least, and Firecat, they all do 10%. They all do 10% of their target's max health. So to me, it would have been 815. To Freddy, 1,233. So is what it is. So yeah, this is the easiest out of the 5, and that'll wrap up. But yeah, I hope I could be of aid here today. But yeah, that is going to be the guide to the 5 solo bosses in the world of Wallaru. I'll probably put on a whole retrospective of the world type thing soon. But until then, I've been Ice Gold. Thank y'all for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave like 50 comments for the algorithm. And I'll see y'all later.